What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to week 6 of the 2022 season. I am clearly out of the studio coming to you from sunny Columbus, Georgia, and it's time for interleague play. This week, Minnie really cleaned house on his team, and some other teams were able to take advantage of that. Interleague, of course, is going to be very exciting, and we're going to talk about how Gabe Davis put on a clinic, leading West to a Team of the Week performance. All right, so first, we're going to start with trade review. Marty sent Zeke and Michael Thomas to Mark for Terry McLaurin and Jeff Wilson Jr. Looking at the values, various rest of season rankings, and trade value charts, this seems like a pretty even trade. Marty is giving later value for current value, and the fact that Zeke is probably going to keep his role all season. Jeff Wilson Jr., there's a question mark when Mitchell comes back, what the split's going to be. And then Terry playing right now, whereas Michael Thomas out for at least this week. He gets healthy. Could like the long-term upside. Mark playing a bit of the long game there. I think it's fair trade, fairly innocuous, not going to break the league in either way. All right, waiver report, very interesting this week. And we're going to cover it in 3 parts. First is the regular Wednesdays. The highest bid was for Matt Stafford. Bill got him for $10. Wes then gets Irv Smith for $9. Tevin Coleman goes to Max for $7, and 4 defenses were picked up. Well, I'm not going to cover cheaper ads this week. There were a couple. Then, Thursday, Minnie had dropped Juju Smith-Schuster, the first of a couple potentially questionable drops on Minnie's part, and Parker gets Juju over Bill because of the tiebreaker. They both bid $10. Also on Thursday, I picked up Latavius Murray. Swan had grabbed him last week. He played in London for New Orleans, and so he was inactive for the Broncos Thursday game. Swan dropped him. I still think there's a chance that Murray gets a good split with Melvin Gordon. We'll see. Maybe I overpaid for that, but I really wanted him this week. However, I wish I had saved those $8 because then Minnie dropped Darrell Henderson, which there's been a lot of weird news about Cam Akers lately. He's out this week for something of a personal reason. We don't have any details. Sounds a little bit like Calvin Ridley last year, not saying that Akers has done anything bad, but whenever that happens, it just feels like he's not going to get back on the field. So the usage for Henderson expected to be very high. Grant wins a ferocious bidding war, 65 FAAB. I came in second with 42. I don't even have 65 to spend. Other bids, 38, 35, 22. So Grant, after all of his failed predictions about Cam Akers, still relying on that backfield and potentially getting another solid RB2 for his FAAB money. Now, let's get into the interleague preview. Through 5 weeks, we've talked a lot about the discrepancy between the two conferences, but with Parker really dropping off and selling, it's more like one conference is top-heavy and the other not so much. The MAGA Gang has scored 3691 total points, Smut Hut 3748. Breaking that down, it's a 615 average for each team in the MAGA Gang versus only 625 in the Smut Hut, so not that big of a difference. And then breaking it down further by game, the Smut Hut is only scoring 2 more points per team per game. The problem is that the Smut Hut has the 3 strongest teams in terms of points scored and the absolute lowest in Parker, whereas the MAGA Gang is all kind of bunched together in the middle. I wanted to look at the schedules that are happening, and to do this, I used the power rankings from the Two Tight Ends podcast. Remember to check them out. Uploads typically go late Tuesday night, available Wednesday morning for your commute. Link is in the description of this video. The easiest schedule this year is Marty, going on the Two Tight End power rankings. He plays Minnie, Max, Mark, and Stan, avoids playing Derek and myself entirely. It's not the perfect MAGA Gang schedule. I think Bill is 1 spot behind Mark, but that is pretty easy. Next, the hardest schedule in either conference, Minnie, who has to play Marty and then the 3 super teams, Grant, Banis, Swan. Now he gets Marty with Devontae Adams on bye. That's a bit of a boost. I don't see Minnie coming out of here with 2 wins. I don't see Minnie coming out of here with 1 win if he doesn't get the win this week. So interleague could be the end of Minnie's season. I broke it down into tiers here. I'm not showing my math. Maybe I'll show them in the Discord later on. But the easy schedules Marty, Grant, Max, and Banis. Huge for Max that he has an easy interleague schedule because he's starting to fall off. His team's not looking quite as strong, and he's a game back from the playoffs. Middle difficulty of schedule: Swan, Wes, Bill, myself, and Parker are tied there. And then the hardest schedules: Minnie, Mark, and Stan. That's also great for Max. He has an easy schedule. Mark and Stan have very difficult schedules. Possibly a last chance. If Max doesn't take advantage of interleague, then I think he's going to find himself on the outside. He needs to pick up at least 1 or 2 games here. Looking at the standings in both conferences, my Atlanta Pipeburst sits 4-1 atop the MAGA Gang. Connellsville Mutineers and Lady G's Beard Mark are tied for that second spot at 3-2, and then you have Stan and Max, Minnie way down at the bottom, and the Smut Hut, of course. Swan successfully swept the first round robin. Grant at 3-2, Banis 3-2, and then Marty and West nipping at their heels at 2-3. Parker largely out of it, 0-5. Get into the predictions for this week. I went 4-2 last week, and I'm doing really well this season, 23-7. I haven't gone back to compare, haven't had time yet, but I will. This week I don't feel so good. There are a lot of close games. West was the team of the week, thanks to Gabe Davis scoring over 40 points, the highest scoring flex player in the league. And then Swan, of course, 5-0, as previously stated. Great start for him. All right, since it's interleague, we don't have to go in any certain order. We're going to start with Schindler's Fist, 0-5, versus Max's Super MAGA. It's not a joke. Max coming off a bad loss to Minnie. He scored under 100 points and dropped a game that he should have won. And this is his chance to bounce back against the worst team in the league. On the other hand, though, this is Parker's best chance he's going to get for a while for his first win. Max's team does not look as strong as it did a couple weeks ago. Just guys' value kind of dropping after having a couple of bad games. Parker picked up Juju, of course, and he's going to plug him in. Parker very happy for anyone who's going to have some consistent involvement, even if Juju has not established himself as a top wide receiver, even necessarily the second wide receiver on that Chiefs team. Expect a lot of points between the Chiefs and the Bills this week. He needs Dobbins to bounce back. So Dobbins was injured. He had one slow week on his first week back, expected, then a big week, and then disappeared last week. Need J.K. Dobbins to be an RB2 if Parker has any chance of salvaging this season. And then Gerald Everett and Trevor Lawrence, actually a kind of decent tight end quarterback combination. At least for this game it is. So Parker, of course, hanging in there, being a good sport, trying to put the best team he can on the field every week. For Max, Curtis Samuel only gets 2.6 Thursday, pretty disappointing. Isaiah McKenzie's involvement in the Bills' offense has been going up, and it's seeming more consistent. That was always the problem with him, was he was more of a gadget player, but it seems like he's consistently being kind of a slot under quick throw guy for them, and then he has the speed. Go Dogs. Rashad Penny to the IR. Max didn't really capitalize on him too much, and unfortunately that's the story of his career, is unable to stay healthy. Mostert will sub in, though, and is a fine running back. He's the guy in Miami for now. I'm predicting Max to win here, but this is a closer game than I thought it would be when I looked at the teams involved. He just has the better core with Debo, with Herbert, with Kittle. But this could be surprising. It would be really, really bad for Max if he lost 2 in a row to the 2 worst teams in the league. Next, Kanye's Kitty Killers 2024 comes in at 1-4 and will face Marty's Thrusters at 2-3. Terry McLaurin got 8 points for Marty. Kind of disappointing in his first game after the trade, but Cairo Santos for Minnie only gets 1 point, so Marty still comes out on top after the Thursday game. Minnie, fresh off of these cuts of Darrell Henderson and Juju Smith-Schuster, probably not affecting his starting lineup much. I mean, he would have played Henderson this week with Akers out, but overall, not that much. Just killing his depth. We'll see what he's trying to do there. This seems like a must-win for both games. It's early in the season, but Minnie going to 1-5 or Marty going to 2-4, both would feel really bad here. Minnie is at full strength. Kamara's healthy and scoring well and looking involved in the offense. There were some worries about him the first few weeks, but that has to be going away. And Chris Godwin is healthy, putting up a good floor so far, waiting to just get him a few more catches and some scores, and he can put up some 20-plus point games. And then after the Kenny Pickett experiment, Kyler Murray is back in Minnie's starting lineup. For Marty, Devontae Adams on bye and possibly facing a suspension when he comes back from bye. Jeff Wilson Jr. gets plugged in the starting lineup, looking to get a higher score out of that slot for this week. And the Cowboys' defense has been really good this year, but the Eagles' offense has also been really good. So we're going to be watching if the Cowboys can keep it up against a higher flying offense. I'm taking Marty here, but again, just like the first one, I could see many taking this game. And all of these games this week, it seems like the teams that were closest are just matched up with each other. But I am taking Marty there. Next, Stans, grab her by the Pelosi at 2-3 versus Banis's Face Jam 2, 3-2. Yep, Antonio Gibson, 9.4 points on Thursday. I want more from him. Brian Robinson became the lead back. It's the NFL script, as Grant would say. Stan beginning his really rough interleague schedule, and he's already a game behind Mark and Bill. Needs to find it, and Stan's shown that he can put up big scoring weeks. He has a lot of volatility in his roster. Banis looking to bounce back himself after taking the loss to Swan, still establishing that he is one of those top 3 super teams in the league. Stan, unfortunately, without Derrick Henry this week, is going to make it an uphill battle. He's looking for that Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, large range of outcomes and hoping for some booms there. Same with Tony Pollard, who's been explosive when he gets the ball, but he's just not getting the touches compared to Zeke. Can he get some more touches this week and capitalize on them? Stan's going to need all of that to happen against a very strong Banis team. I am predicting Banis here. I guess I didn't have much to say about him. Dameon Pierce is on a bye, but otherwise Banis is at full strength, and his team is just very strong. So I'm fine with sticking with Banis there. Yeah, I guess I didn't have any slides for him. That's okay. I predict he will roll. Next, let's move to Wes's Pokeballs and Pussycats at 2-3 versus my Atlanta Pipebursts at 4-1. I'm still injured, and it's getting frustrating. Keenan Allen, hamstring, thought to be a minor injury week 1, and he looked great in the little time he played, and it seemed like a great pick, and he's just been out the whole time. So sometimes it is luck. And then Jonathan Taylor missing an extra week, unexpected. Hopefully I get both of them back healthy, but don't have them now. And then we have the Mahomes Allen shootout. The NFL's been showing all these commercials about how high scoring the playoff game was last year, and Wes and I, of course, have the 2 of them. So it's great how these things work out. I did not plan for that doing the interleague schedule. Wes coming off that big team of the week and thinks he can get an upset here to put himself in the conversation in the Smut Hut Conference should somebody else drop a game. Hawkinson on a bye. Wes goes and gets Irv Smith from waivers to sub in for him, looking for a nice floor there. Smith hasn't put up huge points, but he has been somewhat involved, and you're just hoping for your tight end to not put up 0. Najee Harris has been really disappointing this season, but Ramondre Stevenson has really taken over that Patriots backfield and on the borderline running back 1, probably even a top 10 running back right now. So they've kind of swapped positions, and Wes has maintained about his same stability as expected at running back. Which Gabe Davis are we going to get this week? The one who scores 40 points or the one who kind of disappears? I'd like him to be the high scoring Gabe Davis. I mean, it was the Chiefs game where he had all those streaks out of the slot, and just that's what he does. He runs fast in a straight line toward the end zone, and I could see him having another boom week this week. Over on my side, no Keenan Allen or Jonathan Taylor, and then Brandon Cooks on bye too. So we're really digging for scraps here, starting Zay Jones, Elijah Moore. These are not guys that I have faith in. As good as the core is with Nick Chubb, Kelsey, and Josh Allen, I do not feel good this week, and I'm predicting West to get the win here. I mean, obviously, a bit of a rivalry game. I hope that we can pull it out, but on paper, West has to feel like he caught me at the best possible time. Next, Lady G's Beard Mark at 3-2 versus Swan and Dalvin Cook. Finally, after changing his name every week, he went past my line of what I will say on this show, which is PG. This should easily be the game of the week if it weren't for the storyline on our last game we're saving. David Montgomery, Monty gets 11 on Thursday, and Mark has a chance to gain a game over me if I'm right and Wes is going to take our matchup. Then Mark could get the tie for first place in the Mega Gang Conference. Still no DeAndre Swift for Mark. Eno Benjamin, apparently, I dropped him in Dynasty. I dropped Eno Benjamin in Dynasty this year. Just too many dart throws I was holding on to, but he's projected 18 points in ESPN this week and a good substitute for Mark while Swift rests on the bye week after the injury. Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, say it every week. Excellent. And Mark finally drafting all the tight ends paying off for him. Zach Ertz can sub in for Darren Waller on his bye. Ertz has been a very steady tight end sitting on Mark's bench all year. Now going over to Swan. He's sitting the Bills defense for the first time, but holding him on the bench. He's planning to ride that all season, but can't blame him for sitting them against Kansas City in what could be a game with many points scored. The rest of Swan's lineup is intact, and what do you say? He's got Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Leonard Fournette. He's a super team, and I predict him to keep winning. I'm going to keep predicting Swan until I get it wrong, because I'm playing the odds and I want to have the best record possible at the end of the year. Now for our game of the week. This would probably not be the game of the week were it not for the Two Tight Ends podcast, but could not resist making it. McConnellsville Mutineers, Bill at 3-2 versus Grant's team, also an explicit name, at 3-2. Our two hosts of the podcast go against each other after their Trash Talk Tuesday episode this week. If you have not listened to it, it's very entertaining. I recommend you go back and listen even now. Brian Robinson, the NFL script, gets 14 points for Bill on Thursday, benefiting from the CHFFL's bonus for large amounts of carries. And 3-2 teams, both in the playoff picture. Grant has himself ranked much higher in the power rankings, and he's scored a lot more points this year, but both teams are in the same spot. Let's start with Bill. We're monitoring Chris Olave. ESPN seems to think he's going to be out. Bill has him in the roster right now. Obviously, he'll watch that right up to game time. ESPN really disrespecting Bill. Fantasy Pros has these two teams pretty close this week, but ESPN has Bill projected like 35 points below Grant, I think. And part of that might be that he's starting Jimmy Garoppolo over Russell Wilson, but can you blame him? I mean, how many times in a row can you put the same guy in there to be disappointed? He's making Russ prove it for 1 week before he gets back in the starting lineup. Over to Grant. Big ad, $65 for Darrell Henderson, and he's on the bench because Grant is another super team and has plenty of guys to go. Amon-Ra St. Brown on a bye this week, so he's missing one of his big receiver weapons, and we still have Kyle Pitts in there. Waiting for Kyle Pitts to be involved in the Atlanta offense. So, who do I think is going to win this one? I really wanted to say Bill, but I'm taking Grant. I'm taking him on paper, and part of that is because this week is so many close games. I wanted to take the person that the experts would have me take, but I do think this will be a great one, and I'm sure if Bill gets the upset, we will be hearing a lot about it. That's going to be it for this week. See you next time, and remember, a bird in the hand is worth 2 Thursday players taken out of your flex. See you next time.